Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varisthaya ramakrishnaya te namaha. Shruti smriti purananam alayam karunalayam namami bhagavatpadam shankaram lokashankaram. In the last Sunday also, I was speaking about the Upanishads, and I also told whenever I will be called here, I will be extending to speak about the Upanishads in general and also about the Mundaka Upanishad in particular. So, from the next class onwards, I can dedicate myself more to the original Upanishads. And later on, it may take some 6-7 classes. So those who have not attended the previous 2 classes, I will repeat a few of the points that I had told in those classes. The Shanti mantra for this Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, is Bhadram Karne Vishrunuyama Devaha. Those people who know this chanting can chant with me. Om Bhadram Karne Vishrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhirya Chatraha Sthirairangaistuštuvagam sastanubhihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu. The word Upanishads itself gives an energy, a thrill in our mind. Because the idea that are told in the Upanishads, the knowledge that are imparted in the Upanishads is about the freedom of the self. Why and what we are doing in our life? We are trying to become free from all the bondages. So one thing is the freedom, that's swatantrya, and second is the bliss. We are seeking the happiness, and this happiness is depending on the objects. So the kind of happiness that we try to derive in this world is through some objects, but the Upanishad teaches us to get the happiness without any objects in front of our senses. That means to say that we will get the happiness within ourself itself. Atmaratihi Atma Krida Kriyavan. This is what the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. So we will go more into all these details, but before that, as I was doing in the previous classes, I just want to narrate those factors which increase the interest in the Upanishads in the whole world. Mainly due to the traveling of Swami Vivekananda in the West and exhaustive preaching of this idea of the Vedanta in America, in England in particular, in a few countries like France and other countries in general. So these things contributed a lot, and in the first class I told the Upanishads traveled from somewhere around 16th or 17th century from the Persian translation of Darashuko. Then Attiquel, a French philosopher, he translated those 50 Upanishads translated from Darashuko to the Latin languages. From there on, the interest in the Western philosophers, especially the Schopenhauer and Dyson, increased from then on. Nietzsche, his existentialism philosophy was broadly based on the Advaita philosophy of Shankara. So in continuation of those great intelligentsia of the West, I would like to tell one more illustrious person, that is about Professor Max Muller. So this Professor Max Muller, you all know, he did the critical study of all our scriptures, especially all the Vedas. What is the critical study is? The critical study means you collect all the manuals, then note down what are all the similarity and changes in it, and write an English translation of this. This is called the critical study. And many Western philosophers came to India, did that. The greatness of these people is that the scholars, the original scholars, especially those Brahmins who had already by hearted these Vedas and Vedangas, and you all know that this was not written for some 5,000 years. It came from mouth to mouth, mouth to mouth. There were some scribers, but largely it was memorized. And these people used to chant that. Someone else used to note that. They used to compare with these manuscripts. And then they used to make a systematic study of it. And to these people we should be thankful. Like the people like Max Muller and Schrader. Schrader also has done a lot of critical study, especially on the Upanishads. The first edition of the Sannyasa Upanishad, critical study there is a book by Schrader. So like that there are many people. Paul Dawson also is there. These people have contributed a lot to this, our regaining the confidence on our scriptures, as well as they made it in a form which is useful to all. And Swamiji was also very much appreciative of this Max Muller. And Swamiji met Max Muller in London. And he used to call, Swami Vivekananda used to call Max Muller as modern Sayana. You know about Sayana? Sayana is our own Karnataka saint. He was the brother of famous Vidyaranya. Vidyaranya was also a pontiff of Shringeri Mata. He has written many books. Panchadashi belongs to Vidyaranya. Jivan Mukti Viveka belongs to Vidyaranya. Many books. He was a great sannyasi, and his brother is Sayana. His original name is Madhavacharya. And he has done the commentary on whole Vedas. And if you want to study the Vedas in proper, you have to depend on the commentary of Sayana. That is why Swami Vivekananda called Max Muller as the modern Sayana. Swamiji, in his article on Professor Max Muller in Brahmavadin, 6 June 1896 edition, he writes from London. Now he made Alasinga Perumal to start a magazine called Brahmavadin. Later on, the Brahmavadin became Vedanta Kesari. The two magazines Swami Vivekananda started. One is the Prabuddha Bharata, which was published from Mayavati itself, Advaita Ashrama Mayavati, when Swamiji was there. From that time itself, somewhere around 1898 or 1900, started its publications, mainly due to the Savior's couples, Mr. Savior and Mrs. Savior. Mr. Savior passed away when Swamiji was alive. And then Mrs. Savior, Swami Swarupananda, Swami Vivekananda appointed him as the assistant to Mrs. Savior, and later on Swami Swarupananda became the editor also. Anyway, Swamiji writes about his memoirs of staying with this modern Sayana, the Max Muller. And maybe they were together for 2-3 days. I was unable to refer to the life of Swami Vivekananda in East and West. And that's why, sorry, I am unable to tell how many days they stayed together, but they have spent a good time with each other. So Swamiji writes in that article, I have noted down here, I read here. Swamiji tells to Max Muller that Professor, Ramakrishna is worshipped by thousands today. This is what he tells. To this, Max Muller replies, To whom else shall worship be accorded, if not to such people? So this was the reverence that Max Muller had for Sri Ramakrishna. In fact, Max Muller was the early person to write a biography of Sri Ramakrishna. And Swamiji also comes to know that he is writing various articles on Sri Ramakrishna, and he asks a few people to supply more materials about the life of Sri Ramakrishna to Max Muller. Then Swamiji writes, we had lunch with him. With him, we means he and Sturdy had gone to Max Muller. And Max Muller showed several colleges in Oxford, and he also showed Bodleian Library. He also accompanied them to railway station. And ultimately, he said that why you are doing all these things? Swamiji asked him, why are you doing so much? Swamiji was relatively young to him, and he's a great scholar. He's a very famous person at that time, a very famous professor of Oxford, and he had done a lot of things already in the field of philosophy before venturing into the field of Vedas. So, but his reply was so humble and so thrilling that Max Muller replies, it is not every day one meets a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So this is what the impact of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa advent to bring the whole manuscripts of Veda and Vedanta to the common word. And more importantly, it is not possible for us to go through what all the Max Muller has done. It's a vast work he has done, which is not possible for any ordinary man to do so. There must be a great grace and blessing of Mother Saraswati on him, otherwise these things would not have accomplished in one birth. So in a nutshell, if you look at the various lectures he conducted at various places in Europe, especially in the Oxford University, in a nutshell, he appealed for the corrective actions necessary for Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian mind of Europe. They have to study Vedanta and they have to correct their own perspective in the name of religion and philosophy. So he said, Vedanta is more perfect, more comprehensive, more universal, more truly human. All these ideas came because he thoroughly read Vedas, and in the end, he read about Upanishads. Later on, in the same year, that is in 1896, Swamiji conducted a series of lectures in London. Am I audible to all? Yeah. He gave a series of lectures about practical Vedanta. The question naturally remains is whether Vedanta was impractical before advent of Swami Vivekananda. No, it is not like that. The Vedanta was very much practical, but it was practical to the individual. The person who takes up that idea of the Upanishads, that I am Brahman, he has to practice those things as per the practices that are told in the Upanishads, and he become emancipated. This was the idea of the Upanishads. But Swamiji gave a new perspective to these Upanishads. So in the series of those lectures from 10th November to 18th November, you can go through the lectures, all are recorded in the volume 3 of his complete works. There are now 9 volumes available in the complete works. You can refer to those things. And not only in that volume, in several places Swamiji speaks of Vedanta. In fact, the many centers in America, he started in the name of Vedanta. Vedanta Center of New York, Vedanta Center of San Francisco, etc., etc. So the gist of the practical Vedanta of Swami Vivekananda can be told a few sentences. Vedanta does not destroy the word, but it explains it. In the explanation of Vedanta by Shankara and all, this word is unreal. So in the perspective of Swami Vivekananda, this word is real. Real in the sense that it will not totally destroy that as unreal. There is a place to the extent it is required. So Swamiji is telling Vedanta does not destroy the word, but it explains it. It does not show the word is vain. It does not say that it does not exist, but it says understand what the world is so that it may not hurt you. So when we read this Vedanta and experience the wisdom of Vedanta, what happens is this word will not become heavy. Now it has become very heavy because we are attached to this word. The Upanishads takes us from attachment to renunciation. And this renunciation can be extreme or it can be gradual. All those things I have told in the previous classes. If I start repeating those, I cannot go forward. So the important thing is that first we have to completely believe in the teachings of Upanishads that this word is Maya. This word is unreal. Then after this Neti, this is called Neti Vada. First you say no, no, no. And what remains is Iti. What remains is Brahman. Once you experience what remains, that pure thing will flow out and you will see the same thing everywhere. That is what is told in the Upanishads. That's what Swamiji also wants to practice. After denying this word, how to deny this word? You have to renounce also. I will come to that slowly because the dosages has to be given in a proper manner. I know many times we joke, that operation successful, patient dead. It should not happen. So the Upanishads also does like that. The structure for the Mundaka Upanishad, as I told you last time, first it tells you about the karma, then it tells about the upasana, then it tells about the vidya, Brahma Vidya. All these things are coming stage by stage. By the time you prepare yourself for the final, the karma would have dropped itself from your life. This should happen. So it happens. So in the process, we should not neglect this word. We should not separate the word and the spirituality. That was the intention of Swami Vivekananda. As I told you in the beginning, the Upanishads was confined to the individual emancipation. What is emancipation? Moksha, liberation. But the idea of Upanishads is so good and so broad. The idea of the humanity, the idea of service, idea of compassion, all this can be brought within the idea of Upanishads, which was neglected by the predecessors of Swami Vivekananda, by the teachers of those Upanishadic teachings. It was confined either to an individual or to a group of people. But the Upanishads themselves are telling that ekam sadvipra bahuda vadanti. Everything is that. When everything is that, the Swamiji says, amongst the temple, the human body is the Taj Mahal of the temple. So whatever preaching is there about Brahman, etc., etc., should be focused on the humanity, should be focused on the welfare of the humanity. So should be welfare of the whole people, universal. The universal idea must be transformed into the universal practices. That's why these things are now the whole world is getting awakened to this idea. That's why his magazine, the magazine that he started from Mayavati, it was called Prabuddha Bharata, the awakened India. Then later on, Swami Ranganathananji, one of our presidents, a famous preacher of Upanishads in the modern days, he also told enlightened citizenship. Enlightened citizenship means the person who is practicing the Vedanta. He is called enlightened citizen. So Swamiji continues, one basic idea of Vedanta is that everything which has name and form is transient. This earth is transient because it has name and form, and so the heavens must be transient because they are also of name and form. Whatever is there having the form will be having some name. Without name, we cannot imagine an object. So whenever there is a object, there is a form. There is one theory called Spotavada of Bhartrhari. The form takes place out of the name, out of the Shabda. This whole word is created out of the sound called Om. Even today you can read some of the papers, may not be very authentic, where the NASA has observed that the sound behind this universe is Omkara. All these things are there. So the science and Vedanta, the only religion which can bear the onslaught of the science is Vedanta. That is why Swami Vivekananda called this Vedanta as a future religion. The idea of the Vedanta is just giving the empowerment to the self. You are that. You are that all-power being. There is no one second other than yourself. So this doesn't need any teacher, any scripture, any religion, any imposition. And in the modern days going on, these things becomes more and more relevant. The educated people, the people who have the scientific temperament, doesn't accept the religion as it is, in its face value. If there is a superstition, there is a dogmatism, people will not accept. There must be a reasoning and rationalism, and the Vedanta is a perfect way to give that. So the idea behind the Vedas, as I had told you in the previous classes, that the Vedas goes in search of the cause. If there is some rain is coming, if the sun rises, what is the cause behind that? What is the cause of this? What is going on here? Who is behind this? Then they found out that there are some gods who are operating these things. And these gods cannot be seen by these eyes. They cannot be heard by the ears. What is the means to hear that? We have to go inside and find out the gods who can be communicated. So when they dive deep into their own being, they found out some of the mantras through which the God can be manifested. And only the mantras did not work, so they adopted some yajna. So the mantra and yajna brought those gods, and they established a covenant between them. The man and gods had a covenant between them. That was told in the 3rd chapter. Devan bhavayitanena te deva bhavayantavaha parasparam bhavayantaha ena parama vapsata. And later on, the people of these Upanishadic rishis were not satisfied by getting something here, pleasures here and hereafter, in the other words. Their questions became deeper and deeper. That what we find in the Upanishads. In the Kena Upanishads, the disciple asked his master, Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha. By whose impulse, whose command, this mind goes out and collects the information. Who is the person who is operating all this? So the questions become deeper and deeper and becomes a self-oriented, oriented towards the self itself, not seeking anything outside. So these things does happen. So the Swamiji, what he is telling here is, this earth is transient, everything is transient, so the heaven is also transient, heaven is also temporary. Why should I seek that? So I will seek something which is Satya, which is Nitya. And when I seek this Satya and Nitya, what is my intention? I want to get some bliss which is not challenged by any object. Nowadays, now whatever, in our ordinary life, what we do is, we do something, but after that the misery comes. We think that our life will be very nice after marriage, but it does not happen. It's a common experience that there will be more misery after marriage. So if you build the houses, you buy the car, you go from this country to the another country, it does not vanish the misery at all. There will be a change of place of the action of misery. It comes back. So this viveka, when we get the viveka, that is the wisdom, that this world will not give me the pleasure, then what we will do? We will turn back our mind to our own self to seek the pleasure, because the object will not give me the pleasure, so I will go back to the subject. Then I will tell you about the structure of the Upanishads. Here also in the Mundaka Upanishad, there will be some of the passages related to the karma. Karma means the actions, especially the actions told in the Vedas. So many yajnas are told in the Vedas. Soma Yaga, Ashvamedha Yaga, so many yajnas are there. Dadna Juhyat Indriya Kamaha, Swarga Kamaha, so many Indriyas are. So the desires, I want to attain this, because this world has a limited pleasure. So what I want is the unhindered pleasure. If I am getting happiness for one day here, I want to get thousands and thousands of days of happiness without misery. That is why the gods are said to have no misery, no problem of health, and no death. But there is a limitation. For the heaven also there is a limitation, only the period will extend. But there is no guarantee that it is eternal. The guarantee is only in the realization of our own self. Until that, there will be an extension. So the Vedas guarantee the people who does these karmas. Karmas means related to the Vedika karma. This is called karma kanda in Vedas. So the Jaimini, who is the philosopher of Mimamsa, he tells, Amnayasta kriyarthartvat anarthakyam amatadarthanam. That means to say that the whole Vedas are told to do the actions. You have to do actions. What are actions? Actions told in the Vedas. Those yajnas. So the Vedas have come only to teach you the karmas. And those words which are not, those sentences which are not telling about the karma, you have to subordinate them to the karma itself. Suppose there is some upasana told in the Vedas, what you have to do is, you have to enjoin that to some yajna or yaga. And do that upasana with that yajna and yaga and fulfill those things. This is the idea of those karma kanda people. And what is the idea of the Vedantins? Vedantins renounce this action, because when we do the action, the mind also goes out with the action, because without sankalpa of the manas, we cannot do the actions. So as long as you are doing the kriya karaka phala, kriya means the action, karaka means the means of action, phala means the fruit of action. If this triangle is still existing, you cannot come out of this mesh, the mesh of the samsara. That is why the people who wants the pure knowledge must renounce the action. So one thing is the pure karma kandins who say that only karma you have to do. Another set of people are there, the interpreters of Veda and Vedantas are there. They say karma jnana samuchaya. That is combination of karma and jnana. If you do both of this, you will get the salvation. But the Vedantins means the followers of Shankara. They say that there is no possibility, there is no chance that you can combine the karma and jnana. It is something like combining the darkness and the light together. There two things are totally opposite. If you want to get into the jnana, you renounce the karma. These things are there. So what the karma does, what happens with the karma? Karma makes your body and mind pure. It makes your body active and healthy, and it makes your mind pure. Without venturing into the karma phala tyaga karma. That means you should do the action without expecting the fruit of action, and in the process of doing the action also you must be detached. When you do that, your mind becomes purified and becomes eligible for Atma Jnana. Then only you have to enter into this. This is called the Krama Mukti. It is not that always you should follow this, more or less you should follow this. Because the reason because you need not have to follow this is because you are Atma Swarupa itself. Your nature itself is that Atman which is free from everything, and for that there is nothing like you have to go through the paths. If you try to intensely experience, it will come, because it is your own nature. So Vedanta doesn't say to follow all these things. It can happen now also. Only thing is we are unable to do that. We are unable to experience that. That is why it takes a long time. But more or less one has to follow the path of the Guru Shishya Sambandha. The practice of our system is that there will be a person who is called the master, Acharya, and another person is called the disciple. The person who is called Acharya, will transmit all the knowledge to this disciple, and this disciple experience that. There is no need of any religion or means or any other paraphernalias required. It is just the knowledge. Based on knowledge only everything is experienced. Therefore, the relation between the teacher and the disciple becomes very, very important in the realm of Advaita. So first you have to purify yourself by doing the actions that are told in the Karma Kanda. Then later on the addition was given even for the common works. You can purify through the common works in the Gita. Hope you have all read the Gita. When you do the work itself as the yajna, then that also purifies you. Yajnarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. What is the idea of yajna is giving the sacrifice. The sacrifice is poured into the fire, no? If that same idea, if you practice even in your common life, day-to-day life, that becomes yajna. You need not have to really perform that yajna with a fire. Your action, everyday action, every second action becomes an yajna. You can do that and you can purify your mind. Then when you sit, when your mind is becoming clean and light, when you sit for meditation and all, you will start experiencing something beyond this world. So the important thing for you to travel to this path of knowledge is purifying your mind. And when that purified mind, the thoughtless mind is existing, then only you will be able to experience something beyond this world. That is why Shankara, most of the upasanas, that is meditation, Vedantic meditation, or in the Chandogya Upanishads. In the Chandogya Upanishad, some objects will be there, like right eye. Meditate on right eye. One of the shloka is there in Chandogya Upanishad, how to meditate on right eye. There are many upasanas in that. Not only in Chandogya, in other Upanishads also it is told. Vidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayaha is there in Mundaka Upanishad. So these are the methods of meditation. So this method of meditation, he says, it's a link between the active life and the life without karma. That is the pure life without depending on any karma. You will be doing only jnana upasana. That is the one thing. So in that, what is the link between this and the pure knowledge is that rahasya samanyat manovritti samanyacha. That the common factor between the Vidya Upasana and the meditation is this Vidya Upasana, that secrecy is common, and also mental waves are common. Mental wave means concentration on one object. The same concentration you will direct to the idea of Brahman. So this is the Upasana. From that Upasana, you will realize the Brahman by Brahmatmaikya Jnana. So what is the need of these Upanishads? Do we need the Upanishads if we are already that? Shankara says there is a need, because there is no other place where you will find the explanation about our own self other than Upanishads. That's what he says. Shrutishchana atindriya vishaye vijnana upakaranam. Vijnana upakaranam means the means of knowledge. Vijnana upakaranam. Vijnanam is knowledge. Upakaranam is the tools, the instruments of knowledge. What is the instrument of knowledge? The Shruti. Shruti means Vedas. Vedas means Veda and Vedanta together. When this is told, when the Shabda, the sound is made by the teacher and transmitted to the disciple, that connection only brings the knowledge. And these particular sounds are only to be made to get the knowledge from the teacher to the disciple. That's why he says in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Tasmat Shabdamula eva atindriyartha yatatmya adhikapaha. Shabdamulam Brahma, Shabda Pramanam, na Indriya Pramana Karanam. So whatever knowledge we are gaining in this world is not, we gain the knowledge from this world through senses, from our eyes, from our ears, but this is not through all these senses. It is only through the power of the knowledge of the teacher transmitted to the disciple, which is beyond the word and the knowledge. So these things has to be practiced first, and then we will enter into the Upanishads proper. Okay. So for every Upanishads, Shankara gives an introduction and a preamble. And in the preamble, he gives the whole idea of what he is going to interpret about the Upanishads. And the preamble is very important to go through the idea of the Upanishads. And these Upanishads and Vedas are archaic, and it is not so easy to understand ourselves, and we have to depend on the commentaries of the Upanishads. And those people who have the faith in their own school of thoughts, they will follow that. People who have faith in that Brahman alone is real and everything in this world is an illusion, they follow Shankara, Advaita. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. This is the one idea. Another idea is that there is a supreme power in this world and he rules the whole thing, and under him we have to be obedient to him. We have to purify our mind through following the dharma in the Veda. Then we have to develop the devotion. Then that God will give the salvation. So we are now in the ajnana. When we gain the jnana, we will come to know that we are one with God. This is called quasi-advaitic Vedanta, monasticism. Quasi-monasticism are called Visishta Advaita of Ramanujacharya. And of course, the Advaita of Madhvacharya is purely dualism, where the God is supreme and all-powerful, and the Jiva is less powerful than God. He can realize God and he can have the vision of God, and by the continuous vision of God, he can have the bliss. These are the three important interpretations of the Vedantas. And we in the Ramakrishna order follow the Advaita Vedanta of Shankara. And most of the people in the whole world, or in India especially in the northern belt, where you will find a lot of sannyasis in the Uttarakhand, Himalaya, they all follow the Shankara school of Vedanta. After Shankara, post-Shankara Vedanta is also there. Vedanta interpreted by Shankara, many schools developed in a different way to interpret the Advaita itself. There is a school of Bhamati, there is a school of Panchapaduka, that's called Vivarana school of Vedanta, Bhamati school of Vedanta, so many schools are there. That means as these questions became more difficult for the Advaitins to answer, then the answers, they also tried to give different interpretation on the Shankara commentary itself. Anyway, we are not going into the full Advaita commentary of Shankara itself, so let alone those, the further interpretations on the Shankara. So Shankara starts with Om Brahma Devanam Ityadhya Atharvana Upanishad. Mundaka belongs to Atharvana Upanishad. There are 4 Vedas, as you know: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. Atharvana Veda is the last of the Upanishads. It has 3 Upanishads out of the 10 principal Upanishads to its credit: Mundaka, Prashna, and Mandukya. So this Upanishads has to be useful for the people. What is the use? Without an utility, nobody will venture into the anything. Prayojanam anuddishya mandopi na pravartate. This is what is told in Shankara's own Prakarana Grantha, that is called Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sarasangraha of Shankaracharya. Prayojanam sampravate karanam falalakshanam prayojanam anuddishya mandopi na pravartate. So there must be a motive. What is the motive behind this Upanishad? You won't get anything, you won't get money, you won't get anything. What is the use? The use is that you will get rid of the misery of this world. That is guaranteed by the Upanishads. That is why the Shankara says Prayojana. That is, what is the result of reading the Upanishad? This Upanishad itself tells. That is what he says. What is the Prayojana? What is the use of this? Vidyate Hrudaya Grantihi. Hrudaya Granti means knots in the heart. There are so many knots in the heart which has bound us, which is making us to weep, which is making us to worry. these knots will be broken. That is the phala that is told in the Upanishads. That comes in the later part of the Upanishad, that is in the second chapter. I have told you last time there are 4 adhyayas in this Mundaka Upanishads. Each adhyaya has the section, 2 sections. So this comes in the second section of the second chapter. Vidyate hrudaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayaha. What is the barrier for the knowledge? Doubts. On some scientist, he has so many doubts, and when he completes his thesis, all the doubts gets removed. He gets the knowledge, complete knowledge of it. This is how the mechanism of knowledge works. So when a person gets the Brahma Jnana, his knots in the heart is broken. That means his mind becomes free, and all the doubts about Brahman is removed, and this word becomes an illusion to him. Then, if those people who does not study the Upanishads, what happens to them? They have to be condemned. One side you have to tell, oh, it is something like a business, Oh, if you would buy this, you will get a lot of things, Suppose if you go to a shop, if you go to try to buy a refrigerator, he tells so many things. It has 8 years warranty, 10 years warranty, it will not make sound. All these things he will tell, and he will sell his product. And here also the acharyas are doing that. They are telling that if you practice this, if you listen to us, you will get this. And the people who doesn't listen to us, what will happen? Avidyayamantare vartamanaha swayam dhira panditam manyamanaha dandharmemana paryanti moodaha andenaiva niyamana yatandaha. This is what is told by Shankara. So the people who doesn't practice the vidya, they will get these problems. If you practice this vidya, then what you will do? You will gain, you will get the knowledge which will free you from all the problems. So first we have to go and seek this knowledge from the teacher. That's what Shankara is telling here. Tata paraprapti sadhanam. Para means that supreme Brahman. Dve vidye veditavye iti asma parachaiva paracha. This, especially this kind of the Upanishads. I told you in the last class that there are many people nowadays following the Upanishads and becoming more interested in the knowledge of Upanishads. Only thing is you have to come repeatedly. You should not forget what is told in the last classes. Once it is told, it has to be memorized. And once you go back, you have to try to practice that. You should be ready to renounce what is told there. May not be possible to the extreme extent, to some extent. You need not have to practice yadahareva virajet tadahareva pravrajet. As soon as you listen to that, immediately on that dead night itself you should walk out from the home. It is not that. But there must be an urge to develop that knowledge. Then only this happens. So that time, paraprapti sadhana means, para means Brahma Vidya, sarva sadhana sadhya vishaya vairagya purvakam. So renounce these worldly things. What you will get? You will realize the Brahman. And how we will get this? Guru prasada labhyam Brahma Vidya. By the grace of Guru. That grace of Guru only will bring that knowledge. And with this Upanishadic words as well as with the Bhashya, I will give the explanation from the primers also. What is the primers is Prakarana Granthas. Prakarana Granthas means to know the terminologies in the Upanishads, you should read these primers. Primers means those the books which are told in the primary schools. Like many, we know how the schooling is done. So these are only basics. So you have to know the definitions. When you know the definitions, you will come to know what is all these things. So I will go with this side by side. And definitely it will be useful and it will cover lot of ground in reading the other Upanishads, the difficult Upanishads. This is more or less easy now. I can't say it is totally easy, more or less easy. Or to the extent where it is easier, that much only I will try to tell. So the main important person, the important thing for a person who is seeking this knowledge, he has to develop the 4 things. There is a book called Vedanta Sara by Sadananda. This is the book. This is translated from Swami Harshanandaji. There are many commentaries on this small book. This is one of the good primers. But this is also not sufficient. Shankara himself has written many primers. People attribute it to the Shankara. There are many people say that all the works which are in the name of Shankara are not belonging to the Adi Shankara. There was one Abhinava Shankara in the 12th century in Kanchi Mata. He has also written a lot of books. Even Viveka Chudamani, people say, doesn't belong to the Adi Shankara. Anyway, it is not important. We believe that it is all the works which are attributed are in the name of Shankara is all belonging to Adi Shankara. So I told a shloka from this Prayojanam Anuddishya Mandopina Pravartade that comes in Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, which is also the work of Shankara. The person who is seeking this Upanishadic knowledge should develop these 4 qualities. This is told in the Vedanta Sara that sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. Sadhana chatushtaya means practicing 4 ways, 4 means for the practitioner. Sadhanani, what are those? Nitya nitya vastu viveka ihamutra arthapala bhoga viraga shamadhi shatka sampatti mumukshatva. These 4 are the qualities of the disciple. What is nitya anitya vastu viveka? Nitya is Parabrahman. The eternal thing that always exists is, even the gods are anitya. Everything is temporary, only Brahman is permanent. This is called nitya anitya vastu viveka. What is eternal? What is temporary? Viveka means wisdom. Viveka is a special intelligence faculty. That means you have to analyze this word and you have to come to the conclusion. Once you come to the conclusion, you should not deviate from that. You will come to the conclusion, but you will drop it. That is not Viveka. Once you come to know that this fire burns my hand, you will not touch again. That is Viveka. If you try to say that, no, today it will be cool and touch, you are a fool. So that is the thing. Second, Iha Amutra. Iha means this in this earth, in this world. Amutra means in the heavens and etc. Heavens and above. Artha Palabhoga Viraga. Artha means the objects. Objects, the pleasurable objects, and the result of enjoyment. Result of gaining the object, that is enjoyment. All these things you should not have the taste for that. If you have that, this Vidya is not for you. It is not for us, I can say. So, this is second quality. And Shama Damadi Shatka Sampati. There are 6 things. Shama Dama Uparati Titiksha Shraddha Samadhana. These are the 6 faculties which you have to develop. Shama, controlling the mind. Dhamma means controlling the senses. That means suppose I want to see something which is bad, which disturbs the mind. So physically I will close my eyes. This is called Dhamma. Shama means I close my eyes physically, but still it is haunting my brain. It is haunting my mind. I will kill that thought. It is called Shama. And once you get that grip on your mind, you will become more and more energetic. More power will come in your mind. This is called Shama Shant Sukha. The pleasure of controlling the mind is completely different than letting the mind and frittering away to the world. So that drains the energy of the mind. When you involve in the pleasure, you will gain the power in your mind when you withdraw your mind from the pleasure. So What is bringing the objects into the mind is your senses. Control it by Dhamma. After controlling your senses by Dhamma, try to eradicate all those thoughts in your mind. That is called Shama. Shraddha, Uparati, Samadhana, those things needs to be explained more. More or less, they are all to control. Uparati means seeking the pleasure in our own self. That is called Uparati. That means to say that you will not seek the pleasure anywhere else. That is called Uparati. It is a higher level of practice of the Advaitic knowledge or the Upanishadic teachings. So Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, he explains here, Brahma eva Nitya Vastu Tataha Anyadakhilam Anityam Miti. Shamaha I have already told. Then Titiksha means controlling. Even some people are blaming you, maligning you. You get so much of disturbance, but you should not curse them. Even if you are kept in the jail and people are beating them. You can see when the Christ was made to go to the take the cross, and he was risen to the cross. That time also he did not blame anyone who did that. So this is called Titiksha. Titiksha is wonderfully told in Viveka Chudamani, Sahanam Sarvadukkana Apratikara Purvakam. There must not be any vengeance on the person who are inflicting the pain to us. This is called Titiksha, which is also quite higher. So when we practice this in the mind, what happens is the mind becomes samadhana. We get the samadhana. That is called samadhi. Nigruhitasya manasaha shravanadau nikshipya dadeva samadhi. Once we become strong in the mind by these acts of renunciation and the hunger for knowledge, then only we should go to Guru. That Guru, we had to go to that person who has already traveled this path like this. With all the struggles he has traveled, and he is sitting at the peak of the mountain, waiting for you to come. Just like Sri Ramakrishna was waiting for Vivekananda to come, so also the Guru will be waiting for the people of this caliber to come. And if you practice all these things, you have already developed a faculty called Shraddha. Shraddha means faith, which is, it is not a real translation of this, the word Shraddha. Shraddha has a deeper meaning. That means to say, now this is avangmanasa gocharam. The things which Guru is trying to tell you is beyond this mind and also the speech. That when he is going to tell, or he will make you to experience that, you should have full faith in the Guru. That is called Shraddha. Whatever he says is correct. That is, it also comes in the gospel. It is in Bengal. Jadi amar Guru shudi badi jai, tabu amar Guru Nityananda Rai. Even if my Guru goes to the wine shop, even then I consider him as the Nityananda Rai. I will not lose the faith in him. Let him go there. But I have the faith in my Guru. I will believe him. Let whatever the people talk. So that Shraddha you have to develop. But this doesn't mean that Gurus should misutilize them. We should know that who is the real Guru. First test. Tapak chetak cha nikasha suvarnave panditaihi pariksha madbacho viksho natu gauravad Buddha says. Ramakrishna also said. Just like the person who is the goldsmith, he tests the gold and before taking, like that you test. Guru also challenges. So Guru Upadishta Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishwasa Shraddha. That Shraddha, once we develop, then that mechanism of the knowledge imparting starts. So these four faculties, sadhana chatushtaya, is very important foundation on which we can build the edifice of Vedanta Jnana. So, in the same Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, Shankara says, Bandhamuktam Brahmanishtam Kritakrutyam Bhajed Gurum Yasya Prasadat Samsara Sagaro Ghoshpadayate. Goshpada means if a cow has gone on the road, if there is a rain or anything, if the mud is very loose, you will get an impression of the hoofs of the ox or cows. That is called Goshpada. You know, there will be a little quantity of water might have been collected there. So this whole samsara sagara becomes a Goshpada. That means you can easily cross, like how you cross the Goshpada. This is a metaphor given here, a similar metaphor given to the grace of the Guru. So we must approach such Guru. So same Goshpada we recite every day in our Aratrikam. You know where it comes? Sampada, Avashripada, Bhava Goshpada Variyathai. Goshpada Vari means water collected in that impression of the hoof of the cows. Even in the Ramayana of the Tulasīdāsa, where the Hanuman Stotra comes, Goshpadi Kruta Varisham, Mashaki Kruta Rakshasam. Goshpadi Kruta Varisham means he crossed the ocean to go to Lanka. So the whole ocean became as if like a small pool of the cow hoof impression. So that means to say that it becomes very easy when you depend on the teacher of that calibers. So again, Shankara says, Guru Vedanta Vakeshu Buddhirya Nishchayatmika Satyamityeva Sashraddha Nidana Mukti Siddhaye. You should believe whatever Guru says is truth. Otherwise, it will not work. Complete belief. It is not just you have the ability to know everything, but you don't have Shraddha, it will not work. You cannot do self-study in this Upanishads. You may be able to do it, but you will not achieve anything. The Shraddha is very important, because Satyamityeva Sashraddha. You should believe 100% that what Guru is telling is truth. Then only you can realize the passages of this Upanishad, Satyameva Jayate Nandrutam. When he says, when you develop the faith, and when teacher says Satyameva Jayate Nandrutam, immediately the conviction grows in your mind and it sits deeper into the mind. Yes, truth alone triumphs, not the untruth. So this is a very subtle knowledge. Uktam susukshmam paramartha tattvam shraddhatsa somyeti cha vakti vedaha. So whatever is told by the Guru from now on in this Upanishads is very, very subtle. Susukshmam, very, very subtle. Adjective is there. Paramartha tattvam, it is dealing with the Paramartha tattva, supreme knowledge. That is why Shraddhatsva, have faith. Somya means addressing the disciple. Homya iti vakti vedaha. This is what is told in Veda. Hope Sri Ramakrishna will give us the chance to study this Upanishads in brief I can say, and it will be a few more hours, like 5-6 hours, maybe enough to have some glimpses of what is told in this Upanishads. Let us try and do our best to practice them also in our life. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.